Now, just to let you know a little bit about our organization now, if you see on the left side, Turkey is one of our foremost focus right now, and I spend a lot of my time in Turkey. Maybe one of the reasons my Romanian has gotten so bad is because I'm trying to learn Turkish now, and that's confusing me a lot. I found quite a few common words to my surprise, actually, but that hasn't helped me too much. It's still a very difficult challenge. And I spend a lot of my time in Turkey. We are now building a large network in Turkey for Vodafone Turkey, as well as doing a lot of the international capacity for a lot of the large multinational and large telecom companies. And then we bring it into the middle part, which talks about the other countries we work in. In Austria, as well as in Hungary, we are among the premier, if not the premier, carrier for domestic carriers. Renting fiber, renting to alternative carriers, cable TV carriers, ISPs. And then in the Ukraine, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, and Slovakia, we have a substantial presence, both selling to local ISPs, but foremost, bringing most of the international capacities. Mostly we focus on the international capacities from large Western operators. Just a few key facts. So in terms of products, obviously we are offering, as I said, internet service, data service, MPLS service for our Western operators, as well as the Eastern operators going west. Voice services, wholesale voice services. And we have almost 20,000 kilometers of fiber network. That means we are managing completely with our own equipment, only 20,000 fiber of backbone network throughout the region. And I'll show you a map in a little bit more detail. We have over 125 voice interconnections. That means almost all of the Western European and American incumbent operators, a good part of the mobile and alternative operators, are sending a lot of traffic through our network. And you can see the kind of volume, 130 million minutes per month. And most of our focus is towards Central and Eastern Europe. So we don't really do much in Western Europe. We're focused on the 15 countries that make up Central, Eastern Europe, and now, as I mentioned, down into Turkey and further towards the Caspian and the Middle East. This gives you a little bit of an idea of the revenue profile of our wholesale and international data business. So as Martin mentioned, the business-to-business business that Europe Romania is doing is not included here. But the international data business here, Europe Romania is a big part of that. And that's our primary business. So once again, as kind of a comparison, one of our main focuses and our main advantages is we are really focused on this international data business and combining the countries together and being able to provide cross-border networks. And you can see that here. So, I mean, there is no company in the region that can provide this kind of coverage and has this kind of balance across an entire region maintained by single account management. So if you look at the number of countries that you see here, and the other category is probably another 15 countries that we're working in and able to provide service in. Those are the main countries you can see. And you can see Romania, even on the international data side, is still very important. Obviously, Turkey and Austria, as I mentioned, we are also working a lot on the domestic wholesale business as well. But Ukraine, Bulgaria, Slovakia, Greece, Czech Republic, Serbia, a place where, although it's a small part of our overall market, because the Serbian market is just opening up, but in terms of alternative operators, we are by far the leader in providing alternative capacity into Serbia as well. Now here is a timeline which, if I looked at my passport, it would kind of match a lot of this travel over the last 10 years. And it's certainly been a very exciting 10 years. As you can see, in 2000, basically we were only a Hungarian operator, and that's when I started to work with the predecessor of this company. And then in 2001, as I mentioned, I had already worked for a couple of years with Euroweb, and then we started to combine together to get Romania, and Euroweb Romania became the first company to enable alternative infrastructure into Romania. So before this time, Rom Telecom was monopoly in terms of all international capacity. In 2001, starting with the international educational network, Euroweb Romania lobbied the government to allow us to have an ability to provide services to the European educational network into Romania, and we became the first international operator to provide capacity other than the incumbent into Romania. And I think things progressed pretty well from there. And then in 2002, the Ukraine and Croatia opened up, and we learned a lot from what we did in Romania, because we learned how to use a lot of the kind of lobbying that we use. We learned to use how the markets would open up. What we learned in Romania, we've then tried to use in all the countries throughout the region. 2004, Serbia started to open up. And Serbia, to a good degree, is still a fairly closed market. Only in this next year will you start to see some fiber in Serbia, in the markets in Serbia. But in 2004, we already had the first international capacities going into Serbia. And in 2006 and 2007, we went further into the former Yugoslavia. So Macedonia, for example, in Macedonia, we are pretty much the only international company of our type. So there is T-Com, which owns the incumbent there. But other than T-Com and some local operators, we are the only international operator that operates with our own network into Macedonia. And if you look into 2007, that's where things got really exciting, because Turkey started to open up. So in 2007, we became, once again, the first international operator of our type to provide alternative capacities to Turk Telecom. Until then, Turk Telecom had all their capacities coming from sea cables. If you know a little bit about sea cables, they can break. And when a sea cable breaks, the whole region was sometimes down for several weeks. So this was a big advantage to us going into the market, and also a big help for the market. It gave a lot of stability to the market. And we are even now among the largest, if not the largest, providers of overall bandwidth, and certainly the largest provider of international capacity for large multinationals and international telecoms into Turkey. And in 2008, we acquired a company called Memorex. Memorex was also really working very hard to get into Turkey, and that was one of the main reasons that we bought Memorex. And that name no longer exists. The company together is called Invitel International. And all of those countries, all of the subsidiaries that I showed you there, they go under the Invitel International brand. Now I'm just going to finish up with the slide of our map. And maybe, I don't know if we can let people have a copy of our map, because I think it's an interesting map and it's very exciting. And if you look at the red part, that's where we have our own, if you can see it's a little bit small, but that's our own managed network. The green network is where we manage capacities. So for our customers, they may not feel the difference. But from our perspective, where we're really focused, that's on that core area from Germany down through Austria, Hungary, and a core part of our network going through Romania. Most of our traffic travels through Romania. A good part of our traffic going through the whole region travels through Romania, going through Romania for Romania. As I mentioned, a lot of the Romanian operators, probably the majority of all the capacity going to Romania provided by our network. Capacity into Romania, through to Bulgaria, and perhaps in the long term, most importantly, going through to Turkey and going through to the Caucasus and the Middle East. A few words, you can see the sea cable now going to Tbilisi, but we originally signed an agreement to have terrestrial capacity through Turkey to Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. And this sea cable, the current sea cable that's there, is partly owned by Russian, and the rest of all the capacity going into Georgia now goes through Russia. So you can imagine that people would like to have an opportunity in that region to have capacity that is not going through Russia. So that gives us, for myself being primarily a sales-focused person, that makes for a fairly easy sell once we can get it done, is that I'm not Russian, and therefore it's pretty easy. These companies would like to have services from us. So I think the future is bright as long as we can get through from an infrastructure perspective.